Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. To make light of is today's phrase, and that's when we take a very serious situation and we say something funny to try to remove the burden of the moment. So, for example, if a student makes a lot of mistakes during an English lesson, I might try to make light of it so that they don't get too embarrassed. I might say something like, "Oh, don't worry, we all have bad days." Or I might say, "Oh, don't be nervous, I know we've only just spoken for the first time, so it's quite normal to make mistakes, especially if you're not accustomed to talking." To make light of something is when you take that serious situation and you try to somehow make it better. It's like if you're giving a big presentation at work. You just start and then suddenly your screen or your USB stick fails and you lose your presentation. And you're left standing there wondering what you can possibly do. And you make light of the situation by saying something like, "Wow, it looks like this is going to be a really bad day." And it kind of buys you some time. And perhaps then you can decide what to do next by saying, "Okay, let's move quickly on to Sarah's presentation instead, while I go and get the backup for my presentation." To make light of something is when you try to take away the seriousness of the situation, perhaps by introducing something that's funny or by reminding someone that the situation is not as bad as it looks. I think it was last year when Sinead O'Connor died that I did a podcast called Sinead O'Connor, She Bought the Farm. She Bought the Farm is a very amusing but kind of disrespectful way to say that someone has died. She bought the farm, she snuffed it is another way to say it. And this is how British people deal with the subject of death. We kind of make light of it. We aren't good talking about the subject, so somehow laughing about it or dealing with it in a playful way makes it much easier. More and more people are arranging to either not have a funeral, which means that when they die, they don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable, or alternatively, they arrange a party, or they ask their family to arrange a party in the time that they are dying. So you can hear there that to make light of something takes many different forms. It can be a choice. It can be during a discussion. It can be during a stressful moment. It's like when you go outside, you take your children on a picnic and it starts to rain. So to make light of the situation, you just joke with them, "Oh no, it's just my luck, isn't it?" These kind of things are making light of what could be a very serious situation. The other day in an English class, someone asked me a question. They said, "If your parents were alive today, what do you think they would say about the world. Now, I thought it was a bit of a weird question, so I tried to make light of the situation with a funny response. And I said, well, I could be wrong, but I think my parents would be more surprised at being alive than they would be about worrying what the world looks like today. And the person was obviously very disturbed by this rather dark answer. But I felt the question was just a little bit strange, so to kind of laugh at it by saying, well, my parents would be more surprised at coming back to life rather than worrying about the state of the world, seemed a kind of a playful answer for me. But I'm not sure that the other person knew that I was making light of the situation. Anyway, we're going to continue with our podcast now by reading a story which is in our newspapers today. Now, this is all about the TV show Friends. And Courteney Cox is saying that Matthew Perry comes to visit her from beyond the grave. Beyond the grave is a phrase we use when we're talking about ghosts coming to visit. It's a very popular phrase, and a quick Google search revealed to me a few moments ago that everyone's doing it. Liz Taylor does it, and many deceased Hollywood stars do it. They come back from beyond the grave. As I mentioned earlier, in the English world, British people are really uncomfortable talking about these kinds of things. So we use many metaphors, and we have many different ways to avoid talking about it directly. The story here from Courteney Cox of Friends says, Friends legend Courteney Cox says co-stars Matthew Perry visits her from beyond the grave. The actress, 59, claims she has sensed his ghost since his death last October, aged 54. Cox said, "He visits me a lot, if we believe in that." The actress was devastated by Perry's death, but she is keen on spirituality and often feels the spirits of those who have died. If you're keen on something, it just means that you like it. If you're keen on someone, it just means that you like them. Courteney Cox then tells us, "I talked to my mum, my dad, and Matthew. I feel like there are a lot of people that guide us. I do sense people around me. I sense that Matthew is around me for sure." Their characters, Monica and Chandler, were lovers in the TV show Friends for more than half of the period that the show was on TV. Speaking in an emotional US tele-interview, Courteney Cox said, "I'm so thankful I got to work so closely with him for so many years. After the news broke that Perry had been found dead in his hot tub, Courteney issued a statement saying, 'I'm so grateful for every moment I had with you, Matty, and I miss you every day.'" It's very interesting, communication with the dead has been something which the English world has been very interested in for quite some years. The people who communicate with the dead are referred to as mediums. And if you're very interested in this topic, there was a newspaper in existence in the 19th century called the Banner of Light. And it basically was a weekly newspaper telling people what was happening for those interested in mediumship and this type of spirituality. There's also many jokes in the media today about cats. And that's because cat owners must get their pets microchipped or face a £500 fine. Now, I was mentioning this a few weeks ago on our podcast, that new laws are coming in England. And I would stress that it's only England, it's not the rest of the UK. So there's a lot of jokes to make light of this situation. Let's try to read through this news story. Cat owners must get their pets microchipped or face a £500 fine. From June 10th, all cats over 20 weeks old in England must be chipped by law, and details will be kept on a database. I think this is really funny because we don't have ID cards. It's something which is democratically frowned upon. It means that it's not something they were keen on doing, not something that the British government or the British people like, because it is felt it goes against democratic principles. But yet here we are creating databases for the cats, but we can't do it for humans. It says here, charities including the Royal Society for the Protection of Animals and British vets are urging owners to get the procedure, as it is the easiest way to find lost pets. It costs about £17 and enables vets or shelters to scan a lost or stray cat. Madison Rogers of Cats Protection said, "After years of campaigning, we are delighted that cats in England will finally be given the same protection in law as dogs. No matter how far from home they are found or how long they have been missing, if they have a microchip, there is a really good chance they will be returned home." Cat protection figures show that more than a quarter of owners have not had their cat chipped because their pet doesn't go outside. And around 1 in 5 owners say their cat doesn't go very far when they do go out. I'm not sure about this, My little cat, he doesn't go out, but I'm happy I have him chipped. And it says here you only have a few weeks left to get your cat microchipped. And I believe in Scotland they don't have plans to introduce this because, of course, there are many more wild animals in the north than in the south. So very interesting. So lots of jokes in the media about cats being microchipped in order to make light of this situation. That's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk soon. See you. Bye.